Hey everybody, welcome back to the Chaotic Little Book Corner. My name's Acacia. Today I'm gonna put trigger warnings up for this video for ED or eating disorders. I'm gonna discuss my own and kind of go into where I am with that and how things are going and what exactly is the plan from here on out. It's been 2 years since I mentioned my eating disorder in a video, like just about my eating disorder. I'll link that up in the cards. And I think it was called The Truth About My Eating Disorder. I've talked about it before, and I'll mention this again. I've had my eating disorder since I was around 7. I remember the thoughts starting. I remember the spiraling. I remember the purging. I remember the binging. I remember all of that from a childhood. But then there are times that because of my DID, I would switch to an altar and I would lose consciousness, sort of. And I would come to, and there would be a empty box of a 20-piece from KFC. Or there would be, I would be sprawled out on the bathroom floor. Or I would come to at 10 o'clock at night, and I'd be starving, like I hadn't eaten all day. And before I knew about my DID, I'll link the DID video up in the cards so you know what that is if you haven't been familiar with that. Before I knew about that, I would just be terrified. I would have lost hours, days, weeks, and I would go through phases of binging and purging and not eating anything, and it would just get really messy. And I have very clear memories of coming out of those fugue states and feeling just fear. I'd be angry at myself. I'd be scared. I'd be sad. I'd be stressed. I'd be hungry. It was just always really messy and really scary. So at this point, having been aware of my eating disorder for about 2 years, before that I just thought it was normal to do these things. I knew what eating disorders were, and I knew that people had them, but I never put 2 and 2 together that I was one of them. Instead, I just assumed that my mindset was neurotypical. I mean, at the time, I thought my whole brain was, maybe some anxiety and maybe some depression, but I don't know what I thought. Something was really wrong with me, and I knew that, but I didn't think it was an eating disorder. And I sure as heck didn't think it was DID. I was more inclined to believe schizophrenia or bipolar was what was going on, but they didn't fit. And so I just kept going around in circles until I found a doctor that was able to diagnose what was real. But the eating disorder took me a few years into the treatment to come to terms with it. And now here I am a few years later, and I am getting better. I'm not better yet, but I'm getting there. My binges are a lot less frequent. My purges are very rare, but they still happen. Skipping meals is extremely normal for me. But I've gotten to the point where I'll drink a Boost, which is a protein shake, in place of a meal. It's not ideal, but it's something nutritious in my body. And when I'm sick, I'll drink the Boost, and I know that my eating disorder probably has something to do with my stomach issues. I'm not a fool. I know that my eating habits are not good. So right now, my doctors have recommended 3 nutritionists, and I am planning to meet with one of them eventually. I just need to get my act in gear. I'm so frustrated, and I lucked out quite a bit with my recent doctors, with my current doctors. My GI specialist, my gynecologist, my PCP, my nurse practitioner, and my therapist. I have a lot of doctors. But I really lucked out with all of them. And it took me a couple of years to really trust my nurse practitioner. Even though she sent me to my therapist, and I was very grateful for that, and I trusted him almost instantly, it still took me a couple of years to really believe that my nurse practitioner even liked me and wanted me to get better, or believed my therapist when he told her what was wrong. I've spent a lot of years feeling like I'm not believed, and like my disorders are... I have a big imposter syndrome about my disorders. I know they're real. I know they're accurate, and I know they're the correct diagnosis. But I feel constantly like this can't be a thing. Like, there is no way that I have an eating disorder so bad that I will go to McDonald's, buy 3 20 pieces, 2 McChickens, a large fry, and a milkshake, and eat the whole thing, and just sprawl out on the bed and lay there, completely drained, exhausted, and disgusted with myself, and overwhelmed. There's no way that's a thing. That doesn't happen. I'm imagining it. Or, there's no way I hear voices. That can't be a thing. Everyone hears voices, right? Right? Not everyone hears voices like me. Not everyone does. And I'm okay with that. But there are days where I definitely feel as if I've done something terrible. Or I must be the most awful person in the world in order to be this person. And I know it's nothing I did. And I know it's out of my control. And I know that my trauma from my childhood is not my fault. But I blame myself for my trauma as a child. I do. And I was under the age of 5 when it happened. And it was a sexual trauma. I was under the age of 5, and I blame myself for that. I'm working on it because I know it's not reasonable, but I really blame myself for it. And I blame myself for my eating disorder. And I blame myself for my thought process when I switch. I understand that parts of me, when they come out and they act on my behalf, I don't have control of it, but it is me doing it, kind of. So I have to take ownership for the responsibility of what they did. But they never mean harm. They never are trying to get into trouble. It's not malintent. And my eating disorder isn't malintent either. Like, I'm not trying to hurt anybody by doing it, and I'm not trying to control everybody around me by doing it. And I'm not even looking for sympathy right now. All I'm doing is letting you guys know that you're not alone. Because I know a lot of you out there have similar experiences to me. You've reached out to me and you've told me how you feel. Look, I know that if Trump opens institutes, I'm going. I know that. And I know that people will fight to keep me out. And I know that we probably will be able to make a case that I've been cured. But not everyone's going to be as lucky if it happens. I mean, there are people who slipped through the cracks when institutes were shut down. But the treatment of the patients was so inhumane. And under Trump's regime, it would be just as inhumane. I'm really scared right now for where I am in my treatment, for what I have to do to get through to my next point of recovery, for what the future holds for the mentally ill, for my own health. Sorry. I'm hearing things. Yeah, I know I am. Overall, my thing here is just, you're not alone. And if you have an eating disorder, I don't have the answer for you to get better, but I do have the answer for you to know that there's hope. Talk to your doctor about it. Please. If you think you have an eating disorder, talk to your doctor. If you know inherently something is actually wrong with your brain, it's not wrong with your brain, but if you know something inherently is wrong, just not right, or doesn't feel normal in some way, shape, or form, talk to someone. You could get a lot of help out of it. And I know that healthcare is a nightmare, and finding someone within your healthcare plan is if I could say the F word, I would. It's bad. But, I mean, if you're in the UK, you have more of a chance. Here in the US, we're kind of stuck. I'll admit my therapist isn't in my insurance plan. He was, but he's not anymore. So, it's out of pocket. My nurse practitioner is not in my insurance plan. She was, but she's not anymore. Everybody else is, but those two. And they're expensive. My meds are expensive. Money is really tight. And when I buy books, I'm so lucky that I have a partner who supports my habit and who can support me for food. I mean, I pay rent, I pay meds, I pay for doctors, and I have a little bit left over to do with what I need, but like, for the most part right now, we're living in a two-room apartment, not a 2-bedroom apartment. That would be lovely. We're living in a 2-room apartment in my mom's house. My life is not glamorous, and I'm hoping to move things around so that my aesthetic is more professional. But, you know, things aren't perfect. I don't think they're gonna be for a while. I want to be a mom more than anything, but until my treatment is finished and I have my eating disorder under control, I can't do that. So I'm looking at 5 to 10 years before I can have a kid. And in 10 years I'll have to adopt rather than have my own. If I could get under 200 pounds, that would be nice. I'm a walrus, is what I am. At least that's what the trolls will say. My eating disorder has really affected my weight. And my mindset, and my day-to-day activity, and my relationship with family members. And I don't want it to anymore. Anyway, that is my update. It's kind of a life update more than anything else, but it's definitely trigger warnings. So, yeah. I guess if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you love this video, give it a subscribe. I'm gonna lose more subscribers. I am. I know I am. But thank you to my Patreons. You guys are amazing and you support me in the worst of times and the best of times. Thank you to my subscribers. Did I say subscribers or Patreons? Oh God, I can't remember. Guys, thank you. Just all of you. Thank you. My Patreon really makes a difference in my day-to-day in terms of financials. It's not much, but it does a lot of help. And you as subscribers really give me a lot of hope. And I genuinely would like to make this a profession. But I need your help to do that. So, weird request. Not this video, because this video is not for a new subscriber. Unless you're new here, then welcome. But my other videos, share them if you could. I would love to get some new people in here and get more feedback. And if you think anyone can benefit from hearing from me, I would love for you to do that. I will talk to you in the comments, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye, guys.